EDU TV with 1 million eyeballs across the globe.
Connecting schools, universities, industries, and corporate houses.
Good evening, afternoon, good morning, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, and dear students. It's a pleasure to welcome you all to today's enlightening session on a topic that holds immense significance in the realm of education, that is, course versus college. We are honored to have with us two eminent personalities who have made remarkable contribution to the field of education. Dr. Amitabh Upadhyay, Executive Director of Symbiosis International University, Dubai campus, and Mrs. Anupama Ramachandra, Principal of Delhi Public School, Electronic City, Bangalore. She had put Electronic City on the map. People didn't knew about the city before. In today's competitive world, students and parents alike face the daunting decision of choosing the right course and the right college. This decision can shape the future careers and lives of students, making it crucial to have a clear understanding of both aspects. Dr. Amitabh Upadhyay brings with him a wealth of experience from the international education landscape. His insights into the global perspective of education and the significance of choosing the right course for one's career aspirations will be invaluable. Mrs. Ramachandra, Mrs. Anupama Ramachandra, with her extensive experience in school education and her role in nurturing young minds, will provide a holistic view on how foundational education and the choice of institution can impact a student's overall development and future opportunities. As we delve into this discussion, we aim to shed light on the factors that should be considered when making these pivotal decisions, whether it's course that aligns with your passion and career goals or the institution that offers best environment for your growth. Today's session will provide you the guidance needed to make informed choices. Thank you once again to our esteemed guests for joining us and sharing their expertise. I'm confident that this discussion will be both enriching and enlightening for all of us. Let's embark on this journey for exploration and learning together. Now I will request Mrs. Anupama Ramachandra, a Fulbright scholar, and she has also taught in India. She's teaching in India, and she has also taught in US also. She's our host. Over to you, Mrs. Anupama Ramachandra.
Thank you, Mr. Pranav, and a very good evening, Dr. Upadhyay. It's indeed a pleasure that I got this opportunity to have a conversation with you on something that is actually bothering a lot of people, not only in our country, but elsewhere too. So today we will be discussing course versus college. So my first question to you is, of course, that the urge for people to get into premier institutions, to name IIT, has not died down from the time I was a student. Many of my students tell me that irrespective of which course they are getting into, they want to get into an IIT. And sometimes I see that they're compromising on the course of their choice, but still they want to be part of premier institutions. So what is your take on that? That is it necessary for us to let the children do that? Or do we counsel them and say that you need to take up the course that you are passionate about, because ultimately your performance will be affected whether you like the course you're doing or you're not. So what is your take on that?
I think half the answer you have already included in your question, and it's a pleasure meeting you, Mrs. Ramchandran. Certainly, I mean, it's a crossroads when a student reaches that level, not only for the student, but the parents or their guardians also, especially in a country like India, where we are very cautious about or very conscious about careers and how do we progress and how we move ahead, which probably in the Western world, of which you also have a good experience, is not as intense as it is in India. However, when we talk about premium institutions and the name that you have taken, IIT, no doubt it remains one of the top technical institutions anywhere in the world. And so many of IIT alumni have done wonders all over the world. They're placed as CEOs and technical chiefs of companies which are multinationals or pioneers in technology. Having said that, the question of whether a student should go only because it is an IIT or because a particular course or a program or area of study is what she loves. That's a very, very, very difficult question to answer. However, I will always say, let the student or let the child or let the person decide what he or she wants. In any case, we have put a lot of pressure on these youngsters to become engineers and doctors only. And as a third choice, maybe business management, or as a fourth choice, something else. If nothing happens, let us go for the, what you call the national pastime of youngsters in India to sit for civil services, state services, etc., etc. This is something that we have as parents, teachers, elders of the society, given them from the very childhood that if you don't succeed in academics, you are a failure. Yesterday, also in a discussion, I took an example of a very successful Indian cricketer, Rahul Dravid, who recently tweeted that he played for India 600 plus innings, out of which 400 plus innings he did not score even 50. And only a few of those, maybe 30, 40, where he scored above 50 or centuries and so on and so forth. And he's considered to be one of the top Indian cricketers, a very successful Indian cricketers, despite his average failure in scoring runs. So, do we or should we fear failures, or should we tell our students or our children that failure is a bad thing? There is a saying which says every failure is an experience, and every success is a step forward. So without experience, that step forward becomes almost redundant. So if you ask me personally, and I agree with you, when I was studying at high school, IIT was still the most coveted and most sought after institution to be going, and you were made to believe that you are not a good student or not a successful person, or you are a failure just because you could not get into the IIT. And then there were only 5 IITs, and the number of students getting into the IIT would be very less. So how can I be a failure just because on that particular day my score was a few notches below the cutoff percentage? So, and I feel very, very successful doing so many other things in my life, which I would not have got an opportunity to do had I been selected into the IIT, and I have no qualms in saying or accepting that.
Absolutely.
So in my opinion, let the youngster or the child or the student find his or her own sphere of activities, whatever that might be. It is important. Though, as an academician, we may always say good graders are always appreciated, but I don't feel like it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that answer, sir. Now, taking that discussion forward, I, as an educational administrator, see a clear divide between the course and the college. On the contrary, I think the course and the college should be married to each other and having a wonderful relationship. But we see here that there are some students, I want to share a very amusing anecdote with you. There are parents who come to us for interaction before they admit their children. So here was a parent who's a software a professional who came and sat, and he was there for his child's nursery admission. So the first question he asked me was, ma'am, what do you do that our children can reach MIT? So I was just taken aback with that question. And then I had to be very honest with him and say nothing. We do nothing so that children get into MIT. But yes, if one of my students goes to MIT, I'll be the proudest principal, but we don't do anything for students to go there. So my next question is, why is it that, how do we kind of work on this, that the most educated parents are the ones who are forcing children to get into certain institutions without taking names? It is an institution that probably they could not make into, or whatever the reason is, they have fixed that their child will go only to that institution, not even bother to ask. I asked the parent, are you sure your child wants to go to MIT? You may like it. So how do we work on this? And do you also see many students coming to you because you are taking care of higher education? So do you see some students who reach there because of the college, or is it because of the course that they want to pursue?
Both ways. See, you're very right. I mean, parents are sometimes a little too ambitious, but psychologically speaking, probably there is some kind of an insecurity for the future of their children that forces them to take these kind of calls. And in a country like India, where there are a large number of insecurities in the society itself, that plays a major role. Which also, I mean, one of the insecurities would also be some kind of a peer pressure or the societal, how do I present my children to the world? This kind of internal, some kind of a feeling. So this is an all-pervasive kind of an attitude of the middle class of India. And again, I'm using the term middle class, especially because that is the most educated class and the most conscious class and the most feared class. They have internal fears of everything that might go wrong. We cannot, as an educationist, do anything straight away for this. However, we have the responsibility to educate the world that the world tomorrow is not in your control. You cannot control the future. You can only prepare the present. You can only make the present worthwhile, and let the child keep going in his or her stride to learn the necessary tools for the purpose of securing his or her future. Whatever might have been the ambitions of my parents, ultimately I charted the path of my life, and they are not present in the world today, but I am still continuing. And if I do the same with my children, things will always be cyclical. So society has to change, and we have the responsibility to make them change also. Some changes do take place, but the pace is very slow. Some changes take place pretty fast. For example, our smartphones are changing every week with a new update. But as far as the society is concerned, it has the insecurities. What can we do? This is a very good moment when I am meeting a parent. And to give you an example, in the last 2-3 weeks, I've been meeting parents along with their wards and sons and daughters for admissions at the undergraduate program. And I'm sometimes surprised. My father did not take me to the university for getting admissions, and I had to do everything on my own. I think I must appreciate that generation who was not as insecure as the current generations are. So they come here, they are so much invested in the child. The child was unable, not speaking at all. Most of the talk was happening between the mother and the father, and they were asking questions, and they had n number of questions to ask about how this and what that and so on and so forth. This is a little worrisome stage, because probably we are too involved and insecure. For want of any other suitable word, I'm using the term insecure again and again. In profession also, you might have noticed those people who are insecure from within sometimes are not the best performers and react to trivial situations. However, if somebody is more confident of his or her skills, knowledge, capabilities, competencies, then that person may face these challenges a little more forthright. So I would say the children have to be given their own due. The parents will have to take a step back and let them, from the very beginning, it is not only the responsibility of us as teachers of the school and colleges, but also the parents, to let them feel that they can take decisions. Make them practice taking decisions at a very small stage. Let them handle 1 rupee, 2 rupee, or 5 rupee for the purpose of what do you want to purchase and how do you want to purchase, and what are the how do you assess something to be purchased. Even if they are going to purchase pencil box, let them take a lead. What are the pros and cons? Cost should be a factor or not, the quality should be a factor or not, etc., etc. So then they will start thinking that people have confidence in me. What I see in the children there is they are losing confidence because they are being imposed. I know best. I'm your father. I know best. What do you mean? You are the father. The child is the father of the man. वो मुझे
Man,
बुरा
yes, that is
याद
what.
आती है.
Yes.
तो आज की तारीख में, when the child has this smartphone, this
Yes.
has everything in it. How can you hold that child from getting that information which is available freely on the open domain anyway?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah,
I
yeah,
completely
I will
agree.
blame myself and educationists like us who are unable to so far tell or educate parents. But as you know, we have our own constraints. We cannot do everything, and the parent will say, "Okay, you be whatever principal you are. I'm leaving, and I have to take decision of my own son."
Yes, yes, absolutely. I know where you're coming from, sir, because last year we had career counseling that happened in our school. So an organization which is quite reputed and authentic, they came to our school, they conducted the psychometric test, and they told one of the students that probably math is not for you. You're not doing well, and you are more inclined towards something else. So the parent stormed into my office and said, "You are trying to brainwash my son to give up math. I do not want this career counseling to happen for my son because I want him to do math." So I know where you're coming from, because although we are able to change minds of many parents, but it is still work in progress, and we are working on it at the school level. So my next question to you, sir, is that there are so many universities which are coming up everywhere. They literally mushrooming everywhere, and they are offering many courses that our students want to take up. So is there some kind of a checklist that you have, that when they're taking up a course in a particular college, is there are there things that they should check out, and should they have a checklist before they actually go in? Or is it okay, any college is offering a university, you just take it up, it's all the same? So what is your perspective on that?
Yeah. In the last 20 years that I have been outside India, rather 22 years, because 1 year I was in Nepal, I am exposed to the Western higher education system here in the UAE. And by Western, I don't mean Europe, I mean North America. where a 4-year degree program is there, and every undergraduate program has to have almost a quarter of general education section part of it. Which say, so for example, somebody who's studying business management also has to compulsorily in the first few semesters study critical thinking and language and history and culture and economics and so on and so forth, making and even mathematics for that matter, general science for that matter. And the idea is that for a well-rounded personality, even if you are a rocket scientist, you should be aware of what history is, or what culture is, or what economics is, etc., etc. And I was listening to an interview recently of some educationist who said that if we were not, or the British education that we have adopted was not so structured that if you are doing an undergraduate or postgraduate program in physics, then you don't know anything else. And because that person didn't know sociology, who created the atom bomb, he or she did not know, or would not be knowing what disasters it can do. If he was aware of sociology and society and culture, maybe he would not have dared to invent a weapon of mass destruction for that matter. So what I'm trying to say is, it is necessary that tomorrow's world is a world which requires specialists, but specialists too should have some kind of general understanding of the society and the history and economics and doing business and so on and so forth. Those people who are coming out of IITs now, they also are given some humanities or some business management related courses only for the purpose that tomorrow you will be a CEO, you should be knowing how the economics of this particular business works. Coming back to your question, what kind of checklist should students have as far as choosing a particular program is concerned? Let me take an example of the Symbiosis University campus that we have opened here in Dubai. We have chosen 4 programs. They are business management programs, they are computer application programs, and they are media and communication programs. All these 3 or 4 programs do not have any prerequisite for having done a high school with physics, chemistry, maths, or with commerce, or with arts, or humanities, or so on and so forth. So in that case, more and more programs are now being created and are available for students irrespective of the previous or the background of their high school studies. Yes, of course, when it comes to the IITs, because it's highly technical and engineering program, in that case, there would be a requirement of high school being done with STEM, some kind of those physics, chemistry, maths kind of programs and so on and so forth. And similarly, if you want to become a doctor, you should have some kind of a background of biology and so on. However, in future, in very near future, and the term near future in such a case would be a decade or so, and beyond that, there is always a possibility that more and more programs which otherwise would be specialized will be available to non-specialized background people also, with some kind of bridging of programs. So it is not necessary that a checklist that if you can do this, you cannot do this, and so on, which is still going on in India. Indian universities are very structured, and they don't accept students with variety of backgrounds into some of their programs. However, they are opening them, and it is a good sign that large number of private universities are coming up with a lot of autonomy to create their own programs, and that is going to help a little more. The only thing that is still missing is the government is still a little conservative in allowing them to have more investments and that kind of freedom available for experimenting in education. Because ad nauseum, I've been saying this sentence for the last few years, that knowledge is no more a preserve of the professor. It is available at a click of a button to anybody and everybody anywhere in the world. And accordingly, that person should not be restricted to gain that knowledge. It's only us who can only tell how it is to be utilized, how best you can find out from where you can find out. And there is a scary scenario that is coming up with AI taking over so much, and how education will transform sooner rather than later in another few years is something still unknown.
Absolutely, sir. I'm very curious too to see how technology and AI tools, how are they going to change the entire landscape of education in the coming days is something that I am also watching. One last comment from you. In the battle between the course and the college, do you still think the student stands to win?
It's really the golden question. Our purpose, yours and mine, and of course Mr. Pranav's, because he has brought us on this particular platform and he's carrying forward with EduTV. It is our responsibility to ensure that the student should win. If the society keeps winning, we will still be creating timid intellectuals or technology giants, but again, without any initiatives in their hands. All those who have created history were bold people in every field. I mean, the great entrepreneurs. For example, several instances are given about one Mr. Bill Gates and Mr. Zuckerberg and so on, who have created the Microsofts and the Facebooks, and so they have, and it is sometimes publicized that they were college dropouts. Let me tell you, they were not college dropouts. They were brilliant high school students. They went into Harvard's, and there they found that the university is not giving them what they wanted. And ultimately, they dropped out because they found the futility of staying within the university. And they created their empires, and today what they are. So what I would like to say is that brilliant minds should not be put into any kind of harnesses by the society, so that they ultimately become, some kind of, routine or monotonous or mechanical kind of bureaucrats for the society. So that is something that I personally feel things are changing. People are realizing this, but the pace of such realization is very slow. And again, I will take this responsibility upon myself and my ilk, my colleagues and my peers and educators like you, that we should be guiding and educating the society and the members of the society that let the future be in the hands of the youngsters, and don't try to control everything, even for the future. How long will you be there in the future? It is their world. Let them have their own sun and skies.
Absolutely. I think you are spot on in saying that we are preparing them for the future that is theirs. It is not our future. They are not the caretakers of our future. They are caretakers of their own future. So I think the takeaway for me is that instead of the college and the course, having any distinction or discrimination between themselves, I think they should work in unison, complementing each other. So that a student who walks into any college should get the best out of it, and also will be able to pursue a course of her or his choice. We are just here to do our best so that students are not robbed of the opportunity for them to develop life skills more than anything else. So on that note, thank you, Dr. Amitabh Upadhyay. It was a wonderful opportunity for me to have a conversation with you on this very pertinent topic. I would like to thank EduTV and Mr. Pranav for giving us this opportunity also. Have a wonderful rest of the evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Anupama ji. It has been a wonderful discussion with you, and all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amitabh, Executive Director, Symbiosis International University, Dubai campus. Thank you so much, Anupama ma'am, Principal, DPS, Electronic City, Bengaluru. I really like, very importantly, you said, ma'am, the course and college, they should complement each other. They should benefit the students. And I really like what Dr. Upadhyay said. He said, like, majority of the youth in the country, especially in our eastern part of the north and east part of the country, their favorite pastime is this civil services examination, and they waste a lot of time in that. They've got their inclination towards them. That's a very different thing. I'm very much thankful to Dr. Amitabh. And Dr. Amitabh, welcome to India. I suppose you're coming to India next week. I would love to meet you. And thank you, Anupama. And there is a standing invitation for you. With us also, I take a liberty from Dr. Upadhyay's side that the standing invitation to visit Symbiosis International University, the Dubai campus also. Thank you so much.
It would be a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
EDU TV with 1 million eyeballs across the globe.
Connecting schools, universities, industries, and corporate houses.